Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Thursday live stream where we just talk about photography and chit chat and anything I can help you with, maybe with Olympus cameras or photography topics in general. Do the best I can, but mainly I'm just always happy to see everybody here, all my friends, and you know, kind of get together and just kind of relax and see what's been going on. You know, I always try to, oh, is there buzzing noise? I'm sorry. Hold on. Is that any better? Hopefully that's better. But let's see who's here first. We have Jonas. Hi. Good night from Finland. Yes. And David Crooks. Good to see you. And Steve G. Tirapan and Mondo. Sorry. And then David Tellett, Serge, Wudang. Oh, hey, Wudang, how are you? Yeah, we emailed a little bit this morning. And Music Sound Gear, hello. Late start, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, you're late. You're working until 7, so you can watch the show and most of the edit show. I missed the first 20 or so minutes of the edit show. Oh, it's okay. Usually the first 20 minutes, I'm just trying to get workspace to load, right? But hi Brian, how are you? And Macroverse, good to see you. Formerly known as Casper, right? The artist known as Casper. Let's see. And Rick Bear, oh my goodness, I am so happy to see you, Rick. Hopefully Magarat's doing well. Last I heard, she was doing well. But hopefully you're okay too, and your vision's kind of coming back. But that's good. I was going to email you because I emailed you 5 days ago exactly, and I hadn't heard back from you, so I was starting to worry again. But I'm glad you're here. Oh, Seraphin's here. Good. That he's peeling 10 pounds of fresh shrimp my wife just brought from Ecuador. Well, we'll be watching, and while my wife is screaming in the background, our voting process is. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's interesting times. 2020 has really been it's no better way to end it, right? Hopefully by Christmas, you know, Christmas will be nice, at least here. Thanksgiving, you know, we celebrate Thanksgiving here in the US and Christmas, and at least my family does. And those are usually the best times. So I'm looking forward to that in about 3 weeks, I guess. Oh, but speaking of looking forward to things, everybody mark your calendars if you haven't already for this Sunday's live stream. It's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York City time. But I'm going to have Robin Wong on finally. It's been a while. He was on my channel, you know, maybe twice before, I think. And he's always dropping in the chat room time to time, right? Which is always fun, but you know, he doesn't live stream himself so much. So if ever, I don't think he's ever live streamed on his own. And I've encouraged him many times to just live stream. You know, I know you guys want to talk to him or just see how he's doing and more real time, right? And interact a little bit to the extent you can over a chat room, but anyway, he's happy to come onto my channel anytime, which is always nice. And he really said some really nice things about me the other day. And I can't say enough nice things about Robin either, but it's always nice to hear, you know. Let's see. Roberto's here. Good. Brian Phillips. Plato. Oh my goodness, Plato's in the house. And Rick is saying he's doing pretty good. He saw your specialist today. She says no more surgery needed, but it may take a few months to a year for my eyesight to get back. Yeah. You know, whenever your eye has any kind of trauma, you know, it takes forever to come back, if ever. You know, I mean, I'll pray for you that it does come back, you know, 100%. But a friend of mine, you know, went through 2 surgeries on her eyes, and you know, the doctor said recovery could be 3 months, could be 3 years. You know, it's everybody's different. and so it's you know, it's not fun, especially as a photographer, right? Where, you know, it's something partially what you really enjoy doing. You know, having good vision is important. Rolf, it's good to see you. Greetings from Germany. Hi, Lysippus. Nature's here. Good. And Chuck Eckert. Wow, we got a good group tonight. A lot of people here. But yeah, I'm sorry I had to change the time. I know I'm starting much later for many of you, especially over in Europe and further out east. This is probably pretty late for you, especially when I go into the photo editing after this. But I really had to kind of free up the day a little bit for me, because it's 5 p.m. now for me, right? So I needed to free up the day a little bit. And it gets dark around 5 o'clock anyway, so I can get most things done, you know, professionally, like paid work, right? Because, you know, streaming is just for fun for me. And to help everybody and reach out if I can and do what I can. But yeah, so I'm sorry about that. But my Sunday stream, I'll start a little bit earlier. I'll try and start those at 10 a.m., which might be 5 hours out for the Europe, right? So it'd be 2 o'clock there, and then Tuesday will just be early morning. I might bump that up to 6 a.m. because finally my sleep schedule has shifted to, I mean, the daylight savings time shifting back to normal time helped, but finally I'm getting up every morning, 4 or 5 in the morning now, and I can't get back to sleep, which is good. Of course, now that I'm streaming later, I'm really tired because I've had kind of a full day. I was so busy today. Yeah, nature's chiming in about the eye surgery. He says, yeah, it took ages and lots of eye tests to recover. I know. Oh yeah, Rick, you have cardio rehab too. Going to the gym, doing healthy exercise. Yeah. But you'll start building your muscle back, you know? They say after age like 40 or 45, men lose 1 or 2% of their muscle mass every year. So, I mean, I can vouch for that. Oh my God. I used to be able to like just pick up like I don't know, nothing. It was like nothing. And then the muscles would be bulging out, right? Now, oh my God, it's like I could like do curls for, you know, days on end, hours on end every day, and then nothing. So I have to crank up my protein intake, and let's not go there. Getting older, just, you know, and I know I'm not even close to many of you, you know. You know, I should be so lucky to live as long as many of you are here. But you know, it's like turning 40, I didn't really feel it, right? It was kind of like I was okay. You know, I was really fit too. I was, you know, running 5, 10 miles 3, 4 times a week, right? And I was very fit. Went to the gym like 4 or 5 days a week. And then over the last 15 or 14 years, I'm 54 now, right? Partially because the gym membership got so freaking expensive, I just couldn't afford it anymore. It was like $120 a month. It's a really nice gym, but man, yeah, I'm not dropping that kind of coin for a gym when you know you can exercise at home, right? So you'd think, but so it goes. Oh, Elaine is here. Hi, Elaine. I have been watching, and Wu Dang, yeah, Wu Dang can definitely attest to any kind of fitness advice, right? He said that you definitely need to train to keep your bone density and strength. Yeah, I didn't even think about bone density, right? But yeah, so I need to get more dairy into my diet. I bought some powdered milk to kind of, you know, put in my oatmeal. But yeah, so there's, you have to think about so many things, right? It's not just vitamins and minerals and supplements. You have to kind of have a well-balanced diet and exercise. Luckily I photo walk, a little more often now than I used to, but it's not enough. You have to really get your heart rate up and, so you have a healthy heart, all that good stuff, right? Um, But Elaine, oh, AJ's here too, and Kevin Chen. Wow, lots of people dropping in. That's awesome. It's 9 a.m. in Melbourne. Hey, you know what? This is actually not a bad time for Australia, is it? That's interesting. I didn't even think of that. But what was I going to say? Oops, sorry. Let me show Wu Dang's. Yeah, Wu Dang has a channel. It's kind of kung fu related, but uh, it's about health and fitness in general, right? That's what I feel like, for at least for me, martial arts has always been kind of a health fitness thing. I've never looked at it as a, like, like Bruce Lee, right? But I wish I was half as, I wish I was 1/10 the health that Bruce Lee was back in his prime. Oh, a 50 plus collagen, 1, 2. I've never heard of that. Collagen, really? Okay, I'll have to give that some thought. And DeMorgan is here, and Mark Wolf. Gosh, so many. Trevor, hi. I'm so happy. I'm starting to recognize all the familiar names that keep coming in. Oh, he had a crush on Bruce Lee. That's funny. And DeMorgan's asking, have you looked at the ISOs on the EM1 Mark II? I have a question. No one will tell. Yeah, you can ask me. What do you want to know about ISOs? I'll try. I have my EM1 Mark III right here, which is pretty much the same thing. The EM1 Mark II is right now streaming this, what you're looking at. But, ooh. A video Angel. Hello from Romania. Awesome. Awesome. But yeah, Elaine, I started watching the OA, because you mentioned it a couple of weeks back. Partially why I'm losing sleep, binging that show. You're afraid to spend money on a new camera. Don't worry about it. DeMorgan is asking, is it a dual gain sensor, or when you raise the ISO at one point, the ISO drops in RAWs? No, not that I know of. I've never heard that the EM1s had dual gain. But I wanted to, yeah, I should make notes before I start a show, right? There's a, I don't see Bob here. Bob Tishmarsh sent me an email about this astronomy channel for Olympus. Like, this guy shoots, it's called the Narrow Band. Let me just pull it up. Where's, but if you guys, because you guys are, not always, but you guys ask me about astrophotography time to time. Someone does. And my answer is always, it's hard. I mean, long story short, right? But this guy really knows what he's doing, and it gives you a lot of insight into the camera, the EM1 Mark, the OMD cameras and the sensors and things. It really gives you some insight into that as well. I mean, it's always in relationship to astrophotography. But Bob showed me a video about, give me a second. He showed me a video about, a wish list that this guy wants from the new JIP Olympus merger takeover thing. And come on, YouTube. It's not letting me load YouTube. I can't believe it. This is what I'm trying to show you. I mean, what's the narrow band? It's not. Let me try this. Hold on. I really want to show you guys this channel. Olympus Astrophotography. Yeah, here he is. This guy, the narrowband channel. He's only got 539 subscribers, but this guy should have like, 10,000 in no time. If anybody ever finds his channel. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen his channel. But yeah, I watched this one about the wish list. That's just for fun, interesting. I mean, I don't think anything he wants is ever going to happen. But except one or two minor things. But yeah, so we'll watch this later. But this is a really good video. The M1 Mark III review for astrophotography. He has some really good insight on the sensors in the EM1 Mark II and EM1 Mark III. He talks about it a lot. Because astrophotography is one of the most stressful things you can do to a sensor, right? Or most extreme things you need to do on a sensor. So, and I've reached out to him to I wanted him to be a guest on my live stream, so you guys can talk to him directly. But if he doesn't, it's okay. He has a lot of good videos too. Oh, sorry. Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Robert. No, I'm with
Yeah.
I went to Castle.
Yeah. Hey, I'm busy right now. Can I call you back? Can you call me back at about 8:30 or so?
Oh, I'm asking as to go feed my dog.
Oh, yeah.
Let them go to my bathroom.
Oh,
They have house.
really? Oh, okay. I'll make some time in about an hour.
Yeah, please,
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, Mom. Thanks. Okay. Bye. Sorry, it's my mom. I have to answer when she calls. Anyhow, what the heck was I talking about? Amazon dropped the price on the M10 Mark IV. Oh, awesome. Okay. Yes, Wudang, I think for basic astro type shots for the average person, I think you're right that it's a little hard, but once you kind of get the basics down, you're fine. But this guy, I think, goes into a lot of detail that I don't know. It's a whole other thing, right? I know how to do like a 15 or 20-second exposure, do that 20 or 30 times and then stack them, right? And you get this, and you get a pretty decent image. But he goes into black frames, dithering, and he also measures the temperature of the sensor over the time of the exposure. And it's hardcore astrophotography, right? So definitely you want to watch that if you're into astro. Yeah, spot metering the moon works. That's true. Anyone here planning to get the Z5? No, but I am testing out my S5 a lot. Yeah, oh, so Roman's asking, do you use the Lumix S5 more? No, I'm not really using it for photography. Like I said, I bought it mainly for video work, and then I jinxed myself, and now I got no video work. I mean, the day after, nothing. It's like just crickets now for almost a week. It's, you know, like I filled up a 2 terabyte hard drive in about 6 weeks, you know, with video work, and then and I says, you know, now it's time to get a camera. I'll make my money back in the next 6 weeks, and it's like, jeez. But anyway, I'll talk about the S. Am I muted? No, I'm good. But yeah, so now I forgot what I was talking about. My mind just went blank, you know. What was I talking about? We were talking about Astro, but I think I changed off of that. Have I tried high-res shot for Astro? No, I have not. But it's the same idea, like stacking images, but it's just in camera, right? But it should work. It sounds interesting. You know, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Because it does alignment and everything in camera, then stacks them. I know you definitely get much lower noise with high-res shots in like regular street photography. I mean, it's almost like, seriously, you're like cutting your ISO down by 2/3 or more. So if you're at 1600, it's like shooting at ISO 200 in high-res shot mode. So it's pretty nice. Oh, we were talking about the S5, Roman, right? You reminded me. Okay. So, yeah, I can be president, right? Yeah, the S5. So yeah, so no video work, but where is it? Right here. So let me tell you about what I've been doing with this, if anybody cares. I don't know. But yeah, I bought this S5 for video work because it's 10-bit 422 internal 4K. So it's going to give me a lot more flexibility in post-processing, because I was having trouble with shadows and highlights doing that recovery process. And even though I'm doing OM log on the EM1 Mark III in video, and I'm getting good results with that, and I could have probably just kept going with that. I should have, come to think of it, now that I don't have any work. But this definitely, particularly in the shadows, the highlights not so much. I wasn't able to recover as much as I thought. I mean, I know it depends on how you expose things and stuff, but the shadow area definitely very clean, low, just virtually no noise. I mean, it's a huge difference. It's like shooting ISO 100 versus 6400. I mean, it's like, I just couldn't believe the difference. And I'm going to do sort of maybe a multi-part review of this camera where I'll show some of the footage where I'm seeing a huge difference. And I'm not going to go over video too much, even though this is really a video camera. But I'll give you guys some spoilers. So, okay, John, you'd say, how are you? He's saying, careful, Rob, don't make any exaggerated hand gestures with the S1. It's an S5, but so it doesn't go flying. And Wudang says, 10-bit is not everything. Is your dynamic range not good? 10-bit just means you can push a little more, but dynamic range means you don't need to. Yes, well, the fact that it has much larger pixels, right? The pixel pitch is much larger. In addition to the 10-bit, right? Those two things just made the low light so much better. And if I need to do any kind of white balance correction, 10-bit gets me a lot more latitude. There's just more information, right? Plus the 422 color versus 420 8-bit internal on the EM1 Mark III. There were just a lot of things, and I really wanted to have video that was just a cut above what I was seeing from other, you know, my competition, basically. And I'm not even close to doing what I see my competition do in terms of the actual videos themselves. I do all right, you know, but not, you know, they're at another level. But in terms of image quality and all of that, I think that's, you know, that's something I can do with this camera that I couldn't do before. I can have better image quality at least. Because their image quality in their videos, some of them, even though they're done very well, you know, they use the gimbal shots and they have good composition. They can walk like they're on water, on clouds. I mean, they're just very, very smooth, and they know how to go through a house. But they have white balance issues. They have highlight shadow issues. They have a lot of video quality issues that I think with this camera I can do better. I know with this camera I can do better than I can with the M1 Mark III. But but I did a lot of testing today and yesterday and today on the image quality of the S5 versus the M1 Mark III with the 12-40 Pro lens, because I've taken it on 3 photo walks, and although ultimately there's not much difference, right, in just normal pictures. I take a picture with either camera in a blind test. It'd be almost impossible to tell which camera took which picture. And, you know, for normal shots, I'm not talking about pushing the camera to its limits, because clearly a full frame, when you push it to its limits, you know, it's going to outperform Micro Four Thirds. But I did notice that I was not getting, you know, when I pixel peeped to 200%, 300%, I noticed that the EM1 Mark III images, even with the 12-40 Pro lens, were not quite as sharp. They were just a little bit softer. And you know, and that was on the photo walks. And I said, well, you know, it's not a test condition, right? You know, there's a lot of random things going on. Like, I'm not controlling the focus point exactly all the time. And, you know, I'm shooting it wide open sometimes at f2.8, and then the Panasonic will be at f5.6. So there's a lot of variables there on the photo walks, and, you know, lighting changes. So, you know, yesterday and today I took the cameras and I did some portrait shots with flash, so I had at least fairly consistent lighting. I tried different lenses other than the 12-40 Pro. I tried some of my primes, my 25, my 17, my not my 75 because it's outside the range, but my 17 and my 25. I tried a lot of different ways today to try to under you know, relatively good conditions. Shot them both at f5.6 at their base ISOs. And still, the Panasonic S5 with its 20-60 kit lens was sharper. When you pixel peep, like I said, when you just look at the image, even full screen at normal resolutions, I would say, you really couldn't tell. You can't tell. There's just too much compression on even a 4K monitor. I don't think you'd be able to tell. But I don't have a 4K monitor. I have a 3K, whatever. It's 25 by something. But anyway, and then I push, you know, so I'm thinking, because I thought maybe it was the lens, right? That's why I tried different lens. Now, the only pro lens I have is the 12-40, and that's a zoom lens. And zooms are never as sharp as a prime, but I'm comparing zoom to zoom, so it's a fair comparison, the 12-40 Pro against the 20-60 kit lens on the Panasonic. But no matter what lens I used on it, that was a similar focal length, whether it was a prime or a zoom. The 20-60 Panasonic was sharper. So, like I said, and I'll talk about it if I ever get around to making a full-on, like, experience that I've had with this camera, at least photographically speaking. I'll talk about it more. But that's the gist of it. It's sharper, right? And of course the dynamic range and all of that's going to be better because it's full frame. But there's a lot of there's all the same issues about why I don't shoot full frame for photography, right? Size, weight, cost, you know, all the usual suspects. Why I'd much rather shoot with the Olympus camera for my photography, because the trade-off in image quality between the two cameras is not worth it for all of the other reasons. Not even close, in my opinion. For me, right? Some people, you know, they see one little pixel of noise and they freak out. You know, it's like, look at that pixel right there. It's blurry. You know, or whatever, right? And you know that's how it is. You know, because and it doesn't have to be cameras. It could be anything. Some people just have these certain things that just is a deal breaker, which is no big deal to somebody else, but some people it's a deal breaker, right? And generally noise and dynamic range, very subtle differences, are not deal breakers for me. Because I shoot at base ISO, I always make sure I try to get plenty of light. And if there's not enough light, it's okay. You know, I don't mind a little noise. But some people, man, they'll just rant for hours until you agree with them that, you know, the sensor has noise. And Wudang says, oh, hi, Logan. Wudang says, yes, I know what you mean. I had this feeling when I used the Sigma H Quattro against my M1 Mark II. The Sigma blew it out of the water with its fovean sensor. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting sensor, right? And the pictures were twice as sharp. If another modern fovean sensor comes out and then I'm a photographer, I would jump on it. Fovean tech is amazing. Yeah, at base ISO, I think the foveans have always been amazing, right? They had a fovean sensor camera used for about $700 at the camera store. I almost got it, but I was I gotta scale back my spending a little bit. If any one of the major camera manufacturers released an API toolkit for their cameras, that would be a real game changer. It could massively increase their sales. Can't think of why they haven't done it. It would just increase the cost of the camera because they'd have to add additional memory to the camera to store any kind of third-party applications, right? Which I don't know if that's a big deal, but you add memory, it drains battery life. You need a broader set of instructions for the CPU, and it needs to run faster to handle more generic coding. So it's going to draw more power, generate more heat, and again, kill the battery life. I mean, there's so many reasons. I think camera manufacturers, they put a lot of emphasis on this processor is very specialized and only does certain things, so we can make it run as cool and as efficiently as possible and as fast as possible and still get the most number of pictures on a single battery. Versus, you know, the remote possibility a third party might develop an app for our camera. Right? So let's throw in a bunch of memory to store the apps on the motherboard. Let's throw in some additional instruction sets into the CPU, but it's going to have to be bigger, draw more power, you know, all that stuff, right? So I don't know, because like I said, Sony tried that back in the day with their NEX cameras. They used to have a Play Memories store, right? Where you could download apps. You pay like $5 or $10 for them. And it just never went anywhere. I mean, there were a couple of cool apps. I think the biggest problem was people didn't want to pay for the apps. You know, like you had to buy an intervalometer for like $6 from Sony. And people just were like, why didn't you just put it in the camera like everybody else, right? Why am I paying an extra $5 or $6? So even Sony, I mean, if they decide to try and launch something like that again, maybe they'll see how it goes, but they haven't brought it back as far as I know. You'd like to see a comparison in print. Seraphin, are you talking about like with the Fovean sensor, or are you talking about my little S5 comparison? In print, you won't be able to see any difference. Definitely. Maybe with a Fovean sensor, there might be some, but I don't have one. And Elaine blurs all her pics, right? But oddly enough, I don't like straight out of camera blur. It needs to start with a sharp photo. Oh, that's interesting. And John Yutse says, many electronic devices have less display resolution than many cameras, but images don't appear substantially differentiated between sensors when it shows up where it shows up is in large prints. Yes, I could see that. Whoever's into large prints and things, those people, they might be able to give better feel. I print 4x5 sometimes. But I rarely print bigger than 8x10 because that's the biggest printer I got. I have a 13x19 printer, but I let the ink dry out on it, so it just prints streaks now. I spent more on paper. I got all kinds of paper for it. Cost more than the printer, but now I don't have a printer. And I'm like, I should just buy another printer. But then I'll be in the same situation in 6 months that I am now. It's like the ink will dry out, blah, blah, blah. So I think from now on, I'm just going to, if I want a large print, I'm just going to take it into the camera store and let them do it. And Plato says, I went on a photo walk yesterday with the M1 Mark II and a 12-40 Pro. Light was good, and all I can say, the sharpness is more than enough for me. Yes. Oh, absolutely, man. I thought that little setup, the EM1 Mark II and a 12-40 Pro, man, that's the bee's knees, right? Oh, now I sound like angry photographer. I was watching him this morning. The bee's knees. What else did he used to say? Because Lauren, one of the viewers here, said he did a review on the Z5 that I should watch it. So I watched it this morning, but I haven't watched him in a long time otherwise. But yeah, I'm more than happy, even with a kit lens. It's sharp enough for me, right? Even my professional work, right? It's like I get away with kit lens work on some of the photos because everything is downsized to 2 megapixels for my pro work. I never deliver full res images, because it just gets downsized anyway. By the time it gets onto their system, it's they look like crap. And Dave Nelson is asking, why is it hard for Micro Four Thirds to have a low base ISO? I don't know. I mean, must be a reason, because, like my TG6 has a tiny sensor, has a base ISO of 100. So I don't know why. Yeah, I really don't know. But it's not, I don't think it has to do with the sensor size itself, because like I said, cell phones have a lot of base ISOs at 100 or less. My TG6 has a base ISO of 100, and that's an Olympus, right? I think even my XZ2, the base ISO, and this is an old camera. Let me see what the base ISO is. Yeah, base ISO is 100. And this is a 1.7 inch sensor, right? And Nature says, lucky I'm only an amateur with video and photography, so I don't have the same issues with photos and videos as professionals. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been getting by with the EM1 Mark III for photo and video work, but I just wanted to take it to another level with the S5. And now I got no jobs. Got quiet all of a sudden. I don't know why. It's just no works, no calls, no jobs. So lots of free time. I did a lot of testing today and yesterday, walking around my backyard testing different things. That reminds me, I need to talk about another test I did. Is there a new MFT sensor coming out next year? I don't know, John. I would be surprised if there was, but we're all waiting for a backlit stacked MFT sensor coming out. Yeah. You almost don't need to get a stack sensor, but a BSI sensor would be nice in a micro four thirds. I think the stacking, all that does is speed up the processing for rolling shutter and things like that. But the sensors are kind of small, so you don't need that quite as much because the electrons don't have to go as far because it's a small sensor, right? What's the technical difficulty? Dave's asking, what is the technical difficulty in getting a low ISO, say like 24? Well, all I can say is that, the sensors, they're basically CMOS, right? They're some kind of metal oxide semiconductor material that reacts to light, very similar to a solar panel. And it can only absorb light at a certain rate. So if you want a lower ISO, I guess technically you could. I mean, it has to receive a minimum amount of light to actually move the little transistors or whatever the wiring inside to move based on the amount of electrical wave energy coming onto the sensor from light. People like to call it photons. I think it's more of a wave energy, but it doesn't matter. You need to get a certain amount of light onto the sensor for it to actually activate any of the silicon on the sensor. So having a lower ISO means it takes less photons to, or less energy to activate the transistors or circuits on the CMOS itself, or on the silicon itself. So it might be just a physical limitation of the silicon, right, or the CMOS sensor not being able to activate until it has enough photons hitting it. I'm not explaining it well, but that's what I'm thinking the problem is. I'm only guessing. I'm not an engineer, electrical engineer, to be able to explain that well enough. I just have a basic idea, the concept of metal oxide semiconductor, right? It's basically some kind of silicon metal oxide thing that they make, and it's sensitive to electrical wave energy, electromagnetic energy, right? Waves or light. And I don't know how they make them more or less sensitive. I guess it's some combination of materials between, the silver and the silicon and whatever other metals they put in there. But then there might be compromises in conductivity, meaning sensor speed, like readout speed. It's way over my head. I just have a very high level, kind of understanding of it. And who is Seraphin is saying S5 comparison? Yes, I'm working on it. And Elaine had the NEX, ugly camera. Yeah, they're not very attractive, are they? Today we have AI super sampling technology for soft looking MFT pictures, fixing noise, and yeah. it'll get there, but ultimately, ultimately, you need, it's the old adage, garbage in, garbage out. You need the best quality image you can to start with. For the AI will be even better, right? And Rick Bear says, wrong, you wouldn't need to increase anything, mostly because users don't want all the features included in the camera off the shelf. Simply dump what you don't want to reuse. I could see that. But I don't think that negates the problem with expanding the instruction set of the CPU itself so that they could have a workable API, because the sensors are basically, I'm sorry, the CPUs are basically just exposure, dedicated chipsets for calculating exposure. And if you want people to have workable APIs that do more than just control exposure, you have to expand the instruction set to control all the other things in the camera. And I think that could partially have some, leave open some, what do you call it, intellectual property issues, right? Having release an API, right, application, what do they call it? Application interface. Or I don't know what API stands for, but whatever. I know it's those modules that, programmers get that they can use so they can program for that specific type of hardware. And, I could see some problems there in terms of intellectual property, because they'd have to really release a lot of coding on how the camera operates. And the IBIS system in the Olympus cameras are pretty sophisticated, So I don't know, because a lot of things people can do with APIs if they were able to program. There's a lot of applications you can do. If you can move the sensor, there's a lot of neat things you can do. I mean, imagine, and this goes back to the wish list that the narrowband channel talked about. Maybe being able to do tilt shift in camera with just moving the sensor. That would be kind of neat. Or, swirly bokeh by shifting the sensor. All kinds of things, right? But yeah, users, and the other problem is, how a lot of the features are integrated together that I don't know if they have it, if it's like an object-oriented type structure in the camera. It seems to be because they tack features on generation to generation. But I don't know if, I think an API they would still need to add memory to support like third-party API type applications, because people want to have some wiggle room to stuff in the camera. And then, let's say a user wants, 5 or 6 different applications on their camera. It could fill up the memory pretty quickly, and they're not going to want to offload functions that they use all the time in addition, just to load on an API. Because think about, like, on your cell phone, there's a lot of things that you cannot just uninstall because it's integrated into the overall system somehow, and they just won't let you uninstall it. So I'm not sure. I still think they would need a lot more memory, but the discussion is really purely academic, because they're never going to do it. There's just too many security issues, with giving access, never mind intellectual property, but there's security issues for the end user to be downloading apps onto their cell phone or onto their camera. Somebody might download an app on their camera, and then their pictures are uploaded to, some third party every time they take a picture, or, all kinds of things. So it requires an entire infrastructure like Google has. They have Google Maps, and they have their Android, and Apple has an entire ecosystem. That whole thing, that kind of infrastructure would be needed, I think, to make an API type thing feasible on a camera. And again, that's just going to require more RAM. I mean, think about a cell phone. I have to buy, you know, 128 gig card for it, you know, because I store pictures and things on there, but also for the application space, right? I've probably got about 20 gig of just frickin' apps on my phone. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of, like, if they started to do API, like started developing apps for cameras, you know, they're going to have to add memory to the camera internally, or have a separate mini SD card, you know, micro SD card separate, that like on a cell phone, that you can store your apps onto. Never mind the larger instruction set. So I think it would just, there's just way too many issues on a camera to do that. Just my opinion. And Wu-Dang says, 10-bit 422 does not mean enhanced quality. If your hybrid camera can output useful quality, even full frame struggle with codec. There's no real improvement in quality. Well, sorry. Ellie. You know, Wu-Dang, honestly though, like I said, I've done a little bit of testing between these two cameras, and I did test, because let's take the EM10 Mark II. I did test 422 8-bit output versus the 420 8-bit internal on the EM10 Mark II. And just going to 422 color alone made a difference in the perceived dynamic range of the scene, because I was definitely getting more color in the highlights with 422 8-bit than I was 420 8-bit. And 10-bit, 8-bit versus 10-bit and that's, you know, that's purely a dynamic range in terms of information, right? 422, 420 is all color luminance information. 10-bit gives you additional range of colors and luminance that you can deal with. I don't know the number exactly in my head, but there's a big difference between the two. And the very little testing I did with the S5, I saw a huge difference in the shadow noise and detail. Just a huge difference. Like I said, that can be attributed maybe only to the sensor itself. So what I'll have to do is record 420 8-bit internal on both cameras and see what the shadow noise is, if I'm losing the shadow in the recovery. You know what I mean? I have to do a lot more testing and see, you know, and think it through, right? What factors are affecting the image quality? But definitely, I know just going to 422 made a big difference, even on the EM10 Mark II, because I recorded externally from the EM10 Mark II. In fact, it's this, no, not that button. But anyway, now, if we're talking about sharpness, yeah, there's no difference in sharpness really, but I'm talking about, you know, dynamic range and color. Okay. I'm sorry, my chat window just bounced all the way back to the top, and now I have to scroll back up and down to figure out where I left off. Olympus menu tailoring is as close as you get to a firmware hack. As Sony, they make the sensors, right? The measured base ISO is 100. They just write 200 so that they say it goes up to 50,000. Yeah, that whole ISO thing, because yeah, I've seen that where, you know, the measured ISO versus the stated ISO can be different, right? By full stop, even in some cases. Um, that's why like people do exposure comp or do meter what do they call it? Adjustments, right? To their cameras so that they get the same exposure that they're used to, maybe from a previous camera or between cameras. Because you know, like me, right? If I shot professionally 2 different brand cameras at the same time, I would definitely have to do adjustments so that the ISOs matched, right? And most settings you get with a hybrid camera are mostly all you need. Everything else is specialization. Yeah, there's everything in the S2 is that I have now is fine. I'm not even worried about the firmware update coming, uh, because that's about 422 10-bit ProRes RAW external. I don't care about that, you know. Um, I don't need scopes and all the other things that this thing can do. I just need to be able to record in vlog at 422 10-bit and then, you know, edit and post. And DeMorgan says he heard Sony's making a new M43 for Blackmagic and Panasonic will use it too. Oh, that would be nice. Maybe for the GH6 or something, right? And Dave is asking, how do I get picture with an under and over by whatever value not stacked into one picture on an EM1 Mark II? Oh, just do exposure bracketing. Yeah, go into your bracketing menu and do exposure bracketing. Dang it, if I had my EM5, because it's the same as the EM1, but the EM1 Mark III is a little bit different, but it might be the same. Let me just look. It's in shooting menu number 2. Bracketing. Turn that on. So it's the same on the M5. So shooting menu number 2, go into oh crap. When I'm on HDMI, I can't go into the, but you see the bracketing menu, you go in there, and then when you dive down in that, you'll see bracketing. That's one way. You can also use the HDR feature. Maybe I can show you this way. If I got close enough focusing distance. Yeah. So on this one you just do, let me turn the brightness down. I was outside, so I had the brightness cranked up. Wow, it's still too bright. There. So the one way is just go into the bracketing menu, right here. Turn it on, go over, and then you have auto exposure bracketing, and you can choose over and under. Like here's 3 frames at 1 stop, and then they have more selections down here. So the most you can do is 7 frames and 2/3 of a stop. But you can also go into the HDR menu here, and they have HDR 1 and 2, which creates a single image. But then you have 3 frames, 2 stops over and under, right? 5 frames, 2 stops over and under. 7 frames, 2 stops over and under. So if you want a huge, but yeah, that's how you do it. That'll give you 3 separate pictures or 5 separate pictures or 7 separate pictures when you use the HDR or the bracketing. Yeah, Blackmagic, I almost considered the Blackmagic cinema camera, but the battery life was kind of a deal breaker. and the file sizes, and you know, it's a little bit too high end for me in terms of the post processing, and the lack of battery life was a big problem, or would be a big problem for me. And the Borg hates photon torpedoes. Yep. I recall, though, the photon torpedoes didn't phase them at all. Picard was firing a whole volley of those things and nothing. No damage. I think the first volley did damage a little, and then they started regenerating, and then once they figured it out, you know, all the photon torpedoes in the world didn't, you know, just didn't do anything to them anyway. Is there a good place to learn Da Vinci? I'm moving from old Premiere and lost Da Vinci. Yeah, there's so many online. You know, I find a few, I don't know. I don't watch any of them consistently enough. It's just when I need to figure out how to do something, I'll search for it online and I'll find a guy that did a good job, but I never get the same guy twice usually. Yeah, if you're using Adobe Premiere, Wudang's right. You'll figure it out in a couple hours, DaVinci Resolve. It's not so different. Oh my God, David Tellett, how are you? I forgot to say hi. I hope you're feeling better. Petra, how are you? From the UK, special shout out to Seamus, who is a wonderful cameraman. Oh, okay. And then Rick Bear says, my quibble is that many photographers think of full frame being the gold standard, whereas any criticism that can be leveled against M43 is also valid criticism of full frame. Go medium format. Yeah. I'll get a medium format one day. I don't know if I'll ever have that kind of money, but just for fun, just for a different experience in photography, not because I need medium format, you know. Oh, you got the lamp, Steve? That's awesome. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I guess I talked about a foldable LED light that's really bright for like 20 bucks. Oh my God. Ellie! Stop, hey! She can't help herself. Yeah, it's a great light. Like I said, I think it's... But anyway, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It's a good light. But yeah, I told you it was bright, right, Steve? Yeah, I used the free version too, DeMorkin. It works great. Oh my God, you're using the 8-year-old Premiere? Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, Wudang's pointing out, you know, for MFT users whose gold eye for the full frame league, you know, you're much less flexible. You know, the example he's giving is a 300 millimeter prime, you know, premium money, premium weight. I mean, it goes back to all the reasons I shoot Micro Four Thirds. You know, it's size, weight, cost. You know, it's just everything is a lot less generally. I mean, you can cherry pick, you know, this lens or that lens and say, yeah, you know, but say, you know, this full frame lens is not much heavier than this Micro Four Thirds lens for the same, blah, blah. But generally speaking, yeah, you're not getting away with small light lenses on a full frame, and you're not going to pay a little bit of money. They're usually really expensive, especially now. The mirrorless full frames that are out now, I'm not talking about like the old Nikon F mount. There's lots of good glass that's not too expensive. Even the Leica L mount, there's some good glass from Sigma, or affordable glass from Sigma for the L mount. I was just looking today, just curious, but a lot of it's very expensive. And Seraphin says, I have an old compact G7 still in use from 2005. Yep. Yeah, I take out my E500, you know, and that takes great pictures. Ah, Roberto says, imagine how many bricked cameras with open API. I know, right? All kinds of issues. They'd have to really lock down the operating system in the CPU and the camera so that it can't be, so it doesn't crash or brick the camera when somebody loads a poorly written API or a poorly written app. Camera viruses could be fun and interesting. Just imagine the fun in games. Oh, I know. Never mind viruses, it's like, just imagine like you can get this app for free, but then your camera starts displaying ads, on your camera. Or, you can't use the app unless you're connected to Wi-Fi, or, you know what I mean? It's just, I think it's just opening up a can of worms that cameras, just don't need to get into. I'm happy there's not a ton of like AI and all this other crap in the camera. All I want is that, the core exposure elements, shutter speed, aperture, ISO, give me a good piece of glass and I'm good, Ellie says, feed me. I did feed her, but she's oh, I can't say those words too loud. She'll get you know what again and start bugging me. Oh. But she's a dog. She's got some strong hunter instinct. DeMorgan has an old FM10, no batteries. Yeah, I know, right? Still waiting for the self-charging digital camera so I don't have to keep charging batteries or carry extra batteries. They'll make it, but it'll give you cancer. Wu-Dang says, I watched Gerald Undone on an A7. You definitely have no quality increase if you go with an Atomos 422, so maybe that makes more sense on MFT. I've seen a couple of Gerald's videos, and he did compare 422. He was comparing the S5. It was his S5 video. He was comparing the S5 against the A7 III. Because the A7 III is 8-bit, and the S5 is 10-bit. And he was showing how the 8-bit video was getting banding, right? So that's what I recall. I mean, I get banding a tiny bit in my EM1s, but I just, it's not a big deal in video because you're always moving. So nobody's going to say, oh, look at that band. You know what I mean? It's like if I was doing stills and I had banding in my still image, yeah, that's a problem. You have to soften it with clarity or something. But in video, it's not as big a deal, the banding, if you're constantly moving. But solar powered cameras, I know. You left off where I was saying something engaging and brilliant. Yes, I do remember we were talking about the OA. And Gardamus says he's getting the Godox TT350 in the mail tomorrow. Thanks for the rec. Yes. Coming along with a 7 Artisans macro lens. Yeah, it's awesome. TT350 with macro work. Or anything really, any kind of off-camera flash stuff. I use my TT350 all the time. DeMarcus is asking, does exposure bracketing still change ISOs to bracket? No. You can do ISO bracketing, it's a separate feature, but if you fix your ISO to whatever you want, and not leave it in auto ISO, you'll be okay. So yeah, fix your ISO. Because when I do it, what do? I always lock my ISO. I've never shot bracketing in auto ISO, come to think of it. So fix your ISO and you'll be okay. Solar powered OMD would be useless in England. The sun only comes out twice a year. I know. Hello, Hans. How are you? Oh, okay. Good night, nature. Take care. Phasers are more efficient. There's a whole video about phasers versus disruptors versus what do the Romulans use? I forget. There's a whole video on that. That's what I don't understand. It's like I'll make like the best video ever about something. You know, I'm lucky to get 1,000 views. And then somebody talks about some made up stuff like phasers and disruptors, and it's like 1,000,000 views. I'm like, oh my God, I should just start a Star Trek channel, but then I'll get sued by whoever, Sony, whoever owns Star Trek. We all need a true medium format. Yeah, I have medium format cameras like for film. Okay, good night, Roman. I'm sorry, it's after midnight. I know. I know it's really late for a lot of you on the east of me. ProRes 444, medium format 4K. Wow. I bet they didn't even use that for the Star Wars movies and stuff. That's crazy. Han says, must have pressed the wrong menu option on my Mark III. Keeps taking... Yeah, if you use the HDR feature, it automatically takes all the shots for you as soon as you push the shutter button. If you do it through... If you use the bracketing menu instead of HDR, you have to push the shutter button each time for the number of times that you want to bracket. So I set up a custom shutter for that, but you can watch my video on bracketing, and I kind of get into that a little bit. But yeah, that's the difference. HDR, when you push the shutter button, it's gonna fire off all the brackets over and under right away. Dave Nelson says someone should do a video on all the crazy video format. Yeah, Gerald Undone does that kind of stuff. He has videos on that. And there's lots of videos on it. Your dog, the same deal, huh? Let's see. I'm trying to get caught up. Hopefully I didn't miss any questions. Camera with YouTube playing on the back screen. Imagine the potential. Yes, I want to buy the Sony a7S III, saving money for it right now. It can do 16-bit RAW on Atomos, but I calculated SSD 1 terabyte is about 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm not doing that, Wu Dang. I mean, nothing I record is that important. And John Yusays is asking, still looking for an outtakes video. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not looking for an outtakes video as far as I don't think I am. Okay, good night, Hans. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Rob's best camera drops. Okay. I don't have too many of those in video. I got one snapshot on my Instagram where I dropped the camera, but that's it. You got 2 million views on a squirrel eating a banana? Oh my God. I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like crazy, but you probably only made like $1 on 1 million views, right? Because that's the thing with YouTube, man. You make these, some of these viral videos are about nothing, and you earn nothing, you know. And then you make really high density, high quality videos. You may not get as many views, but what you earn per view is more. Okay, Plato, we'll see you later. Yeah, I know it's so late over there. I feel bad. And Randy says, last call, Rob. Hey, guys and gals, just posted my adventures. Oh, okay, we'll see you. All right, Randy, we'll see you. I did see some of your images. I didn't see any today, but I did look yesterday at your Flickr page, and I saw some of your images. I hit a few likes here and there, so I guess you know that, but. Oh, funny video that went into the trash, never saw the light of day. Yeah, you know, because I'm running out of hard drive space so quickly, I'm a little bit flustered at how to manage if it may not be an issue because I haven't gotten the video job since I bought this freaking camera, but I'm a little flustered how to deal with this video. I delete all of my vlogs after I make the YouTube video. All the video for that, the B-roll, all that crap gets deleted. So I don't have a lot of outtakes, so to speak. You know, I think about it sometimes when I'm making the video. Maybe I can put some outtakes at the end of the vlog. But after you spend, 16 hours editing a video, you're like, all right, screw the outtakes. Let's just publish this. You know what I mean? Oh. All right, we'll see you on Sunday, John. Thanks for coming in. And yeah, full frame photographers were 10 by 8, right, Rick? You're right. I think calling full frame digital sensors was a marketing trick. And Woodang says, with all the streams Rob is doing, I'm sure we got all words he can say, so put in enough work into it. We can make Rob say anything. Probably. Yep, 35 was originally the miniature format. Yep, I've heard that. You know, because I don't know, some random video I watched, they'll talk about 35 millimeter, how it was always the small format. Yeah, I know, right, Roberto? Spent hours making a video, and you get, just, man, if my videos break 1,000 views anymore, I'm happy. They barely break I don't know how many videos I got that break even 1,000 views anymore. I mean, I've got about 5 videos right now stacked up on my computer that I need to edit and publish. There's like 2 or 3 photo walks, and then my Panasonic comparisons with the M1, and also I did some footage today comparing the 14 to 150 against the 40 to 150, and I did some lens comparisons today. So I've been a busy bee since I haven't had any real jobs, and now I gotta edit. I gotta go through and edit all that crap, and then publish it, and then get like 10 views. I mean, I enjoy doing it, so it's not a big deal. But it'd be nice to get more than a few hundred views on a video, just to have some reward for all that work. Elaine says she thought 110 was the small format. Yep. I remember those 110 cameras, right? They're very small. I didn't even talk about how many people are still here. What time is my next stream? I don't even know. Hold on. Because I did want to talk about one other thing. I should have brought it up in the beginning. I just need to see when my next stream is, and then I can decide if I can talk about this or not. Oh, come on. Why? L live. Okay. Upcoming. At scheduled for 7. Okay, so I have a few minutes. Wow, why did I schedule it for 7? If I started this one at 5, I should have scheduled it at 6:30. I guess I have a little buffer. I gotta go feed my mom's dog and cat and all that. That's why she called earlier. So that I got a little buffer between streams. But anyway, okay, so I have a couple minutes. I wanted to show you guys this. Let me pull it up. Let's see, where is it? It's in Libre Calc, I think. And Helen says, you get lots of views on Facebook. Okay. Remember to call your mom. Yeah, clickbait is ruining YouTube. True. Yeah, the man ate a full bag of chips. See what happened. I know. I'm tired of it myself, you know. All right, so you guys, I am trying to change that ringtone to something else. It's just not appropriate to have your mom's ringtone to be that song. I need to change it. I was trying to figure out how to add new ringtones, and I picked that song because it starts out loud. I had a different one. I originally had a Billy Joel song, Come On, right? But his songs start out so quiet in the beginning. So like it could have rang 3 or 4 times before I even hear it. So I had to pick something else. So I just grabbed that one because it comes on like that and I can hear it right away. Oh, let me bring this over. All right. Oh, good. We can see chat and the. Man, this is so tiny. Is there a way to enlarge this? I guess I can make the font bigger. Where's that button? Oh, here it is. There. All right, so I did a survey, right, on YouTube about what software do you use? And if it wasn't listed, I said, you know, just leave in the comments below what you use, right? And so Lightroom and Photoshop or Elements was pretty much #1, right? It's what I use and it's what a lot of other people use. And then there's Olympus Workspace, which I was a little surprised it was that high on one hand, but on the other hand, you know, I do mostly Olympus stuff, so I'm not surprised that a lot of users are using Olympus Workspace. And then Affinity and Luminar were tied, right? Then Capture One, I would say really a distant third or fourth. Then DxO, and then Darktable. So on Wudang's channel, he did a video using Darktable, editing and using Darktable, and it was pretty impressive. And he gave me a shout out too, which I really appreciate. But so I'm thinking I'm gonna do a separate stream with Darktable one day and see how that goes over. But I need to download it and play with it a little bit. And because it looks pretty capable. I mean, it looks really good and it's free, right? But then there's Snapseed and then Corel. I was surprised there was a Corel Paint Shop Aftershot Pro. Faststone got a couple, GIMP got a couple, and so on, right? So 265 total. So it's a very, very small sample. And it's mainly just viewers of my channel, not probably not a lot of people outside of that. Because, you know, I guarantee if, where's MS Paint? We need Darktable, rule the world, it's amazing. Okay, I'll download it and see. Yeah, so there's the list, you know. Now, the only thing is, like, in the comment section where people are telling me what they use, a lot of times they mention 2 different softwares, right? They said, oh, I use, you know, Workspace, or I use Lightroom with Luminar, or I use Luminar with Topaz, you know. So if they said 2 things at the same time, I just counted it separately. But that count is in there. Another capture 1. Okay, we'll make that 17. Oops, wrong. So a small sample, but I thought it was kind of interesting to see. There's a lot of things I never heard of here. I never heard of like Silky Pix or Authentic, Perfectly Clear. Never heard of that. I've heard of Raw Therapy, GIMP on one. I've heard of most of these except for Authentic, Digicam, Jask. I've never heard of. So, no, the survey didn't let people pick 2, Demork, and if they left in the comments that they used 2 different things, that's when I counted it separately. So like somebody might have, like Topaz AI, I don't think is a separate thing, right? You have to use that as a plugin. So I added 1. So if it's a plugin to Photoshop, I said +1 Photoshop, +1 Topaz. That's how I did it. No, straight out of camera. Right, Roberto. So true. Magrat. I guess you need to feed her. Ellie doesn't. Oh my God, Ellie. She is brutal when she's Hungry. Let me tell you, she's got me trained well. Wow, you're a big fan of Darktable, huh, Wudang? Studio 2 has a plugin. Lightroom Photoshop Studio 2 replaced Topaz AI after the trial ran out. Never heard of Studio 2 either. Huh. But okay, I need to end it here because I need to go feed my mom's dogs because she's somewhere out of reach today. But I wanted to share this poll and remind everyone about Robin Wong this Sunday. Okay, definitely you guys be here. Let's give Robin a huge audience, biggest audience we can. So tell your friends, family, you know the routine, right? Share on social media, whatever you can do. I really want Robin to have a big audience when he comes in, because he rarely live streams, right? And Elaine, I wanted to talk about the OA a little bit too, maybe during the photo editing session at 7 o'clock. So I'll be at 7 o'clock. I'm starting like in 30 minutes. I have a photo editing live stream. You guys can join me there. But otherwise, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. I always have a good time. And I'll be back on Sunday with Robin Wong. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks again.